is revealed in the choices a human being makes under pressure. The greater the pressure, the deeper the revelation, the truer the choice to the character's essential nature. He also says nothing moves forward in a story except through conflict. So conflict is what reveals our character, the choices the character makes, the way they react to stress, the way they treat, again, themselves and other people when things go really wrong, when their greatest fears come true. These show the character's essential nature, who they really are deep down at their core. And throughout the story, you want to be peeling back the layers of your character. So your character might start off to the reader coming off as one way. An example I use in like a separate workshop I did was I was talking about archetypes and the bad boy archetype. If you look at Good Will Hunting, in the beginning of the movie, Will seems like, your typical bad boy from the wrong side of the tracks, usually has some kind of tragic backstory. But as the story goes on, it turns out he does have a tragic backstory, but it's used in a way that really turns him from a stock character, a one-dimensional stock character, into a fully realized human being with emotions. And it turns out that that tragic backstory really has a very tangible impact on the way he's acting in the present day, and that all of his behaviors have been symptoms of this larger problem that he has not dealt with. And I think Good Will Hunting is like a great example of how to reveal character over the course of the story, and how to use psychology really and create the psychological map of your character in order to show over time, over the course of the story, show the reader or viewer who your character really is deep down. So one of the things that you can use, like one of the strategies or tactics you can use to get to the core of your character is to determine what do they do when they're in pain. This might sound like a bit of an odd question, but science, like scientific studies have proved there's basically three main reactions that people will have in the moment when they're experiencing some kind of stress, something that is hurtful. They will either lash out, and as an example of a character who does this, Zuko from the Avatar: The Last Airbender, I use him because he's like a very widely known character. He has super bad anger issues. The second option is to retreat or sulk. A classic example is Mr. Incredible. At the beginning of the movie, you see him at his desk, hunched over. He's been beaten down by life, and he's just completely feels sorry for himself, basically, all the time. The last option is to pretend to be happy. A good example of this is Joy from the movie Inside Out. She, even when she is clearly experiencing some kind of emotional distress, she'll always try to put a happy spin on it. She'll always have to put on a smile. She always feels the need to not only like make herself feel happy, but to make everybody around her feel happy in a very compulsive way that the story does a very good job of exploring. So these three reactions, you're already like making your character a lot more specific just with this, just by choosing which type of reaction your character has when they're under stress or when they're feeling hurt. Because the same person who's going to like lash out when it comes to experiencing pain, like that's a very different type of person than the type of person who's going to withdraw or retreat and sulk, or the type of person like Joy who's going to pretend to be happy. So this is a really good starting point for determining who your character is. Like, let's say you're starting blank and you have no idea about the psychology of your character. This is one of the first things I have my clients do, is to figure out, so how are they going to be reacting when they're in pain? And once you pick one of these, like you can make the reactions, obviously they don't have to react in the same way every single time a conflict occurs, but if they lash out, you can have them experiencing anger in different ways and frustration and annoyance throughout the different conflicts that appear in the novel. Another thing is the good heart test. So how do you determine if your character is like truly good or evil? I find this is actually something I never really thought I would teach, but I found a lot of authors actually really have a problem making their character more specific and determining what they want their character's arc to be. A lot of people, particularly in the beginning stages of developing characters, they have no idea. Either they have I found there's two types of authors really. Those who have very, very specific ideas of exactly who this character is, kind of fully formed right out, or the author who often has a very vague idea of their character and doesn't really even know whether they want them to end the story in a better place or a worse place, and they have no idea where to start. So in that case, one thing you want to do to determine if your character is going to grow as a person throughout the story or deteriorate as a person is the good heart test, which is, do they try to make others, when they're experiencing this pain, when they're experiencing stress, do they try to make others feel as bad as they feel inside? Or do they want to be for others what they wish they had when they were experiencing pain or when they were in a similar situation? And I found like one strategy or that some of my clients use is to, for example, do an interview with their character, and they will quote unquote ask their character questions and write down how the character would answer those questions if, say you were inside the book with the character and interviewing them. And so this is a good one of those, this is a good question to be as one of those first questions to ask, in that if you're going to do that kind of interview format and try to determine which direction you want your character to go in. And this leads me to attachment theory, which is kind of the heart of what I want to discuss. So the reason I want to talk about stress and reactions to pain, stress, hurt first is because if you say you're following along with me and designing a character, once you answer those first two questions, do they have a good heart? Are they going to have a positive arc or a negative arc? Basically, that's what that question is. And once you determine how they react to pain, you pretty much, it'll make it a lot easier to determine what type of attachment style you want your character to have. And that is going to be the best attachment style given the story that you want to tell about your character.